Great, thank you. Okay, I'd like to call to order the March 7, 2023 meeting of the Philomath Public Works Committee. I'm Committee Chair Ruth Causey, and I have with me Christopher McMorrin, Mike Brzezinski, Chris Wickman, and on Zoom we have Gary Black and Kevin Fear. So with that, it looks like the first order of business is the election of Public Works Chair. If the member would like me to continue as chair, I'd be happy to do so. If you want to wait until Matt arrives to discuss that.
Well, I would be okay with that, but I do feel like maybe we should wait for
Okay.
Matt, just for
All
formality's sake. I don't want to be the one decider.
Okay.
And what if there's a tie vote?
I don't know what we'll do. Draw straws or something. Okay. Then I will proceed to the minutes of the December 8th, 2022 meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
Am I allowed to abstain or should I vote?
You could go ahead and vote.
Okay. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes approved unanimously. Okay, the next item of business is the expansion of loading zone for Jonah's Market on South 8th Street. And Gary, I understand this is your item.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I had a request from the owners of Jonah's Market they have a loading zone on the 8th Street portion of their property. We put that in a few years ago at their request. It's basically right now it'll fit one 53-footer in there, like a Pepsi truck or beer truck or whatever. They have asked to extend that loading zone south to the alleyway, which is approximately another 40 feet, to allow additional vehicles, loading vehicles to come and do unloading during the day. The hours right now, I believe, are like 8 to 2 or 8 to 3. I can't remember exactly what the hours are, but it's during the day type of thing. It would eliminate 3 parking spots along that street. I don't know if you've been on South 8th, but there's a lot of people on that street. So I could see some neighbors might not like it. But for the business itself, because with the road construction going on for the next however long, they've had to have the Pepsi trucks park on the north side of Main Street and actually run across the street with their deliveries. And I actually witnessed it. I was out there one day, and there was a guy lugging 4 or 5 cases of, or how many cases of pop. It's like, holy mackerel, that's dangerous. But so they'd asked if I would look into it, and I said I would, and here we are.
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you. When you said the hours were 8 to 2 or 8 to 3, is that the delivery hours?
Yeah, that's the loading zone hours. Yeah, so in the evening it would be open to parking by the neighbors as long as they're out of there by the posted hours.
Okay. And I assume their property line on the south side of the property is the north side of the alleyway. Is that correct?
It is. Their actual property goes just, if you look at the map, just a little bit north of that alleyway. So yeah, you can see it kind of in that picture. They got some rocks and stuff right there, and that is their actual part of their frontage of their property.
Okay. And my last question is, there are some trees there near the sidewalk. Would those have to come out?
No, we would leave them and they would, there currently is 2 signs there now with arrows pointing loading zone. We would just take the one in the middle out, put one with a double arrow, and then take the third one and move it down to the end of the, right by the alley. We'd be off the alleyway by about 3 or 4 feet, just so it's not a side issue. But yeah, we'd add one more sign, and I've already talked to the business owner, and they're willing to pay for that extra sign.
Okay. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
Are there any other questions for Gary? Okay. Well, I'd like to move that we approve the extension of the alleyway. Do I have a second?
Of the alleyway or the loading zone?
I'm sorry, the loading zone.
Then I'll second that.
Thank you. My apologies. I think the alleyway is fun. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and I'll move forward with getting the signs installed.
Great, thank you, Gary. I appreciate they're bringing the issue to us. I frequent that parking lot and it's pretty busy.
It is pretty busy. Thank you very much.
I can't imagine sprinting across Main Street with a load of beer. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to backtrack for just a minute. Matt, our first item of business was the election of a chair. If you would like me to continue as chair, I would be happy to do so. Or if you would like to serve as chair, I would support that as well.
I think you're doing an excellent job.
Oh, thank you.
Well, there you go.
All right, all in favor of having me continue as chair, please raise your hand and say aye.
I,
Is that like a year-long term or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so you can have a chance next year.
I'm new here. I guess I
Oh.
also, point of inquiry. So like we just approved this loading zone thing. Does that not go to the city council? We just do that here? Okay.
Yeah, there's some items where they're more administrative,
Okay.
but we want to make sure that at least this committee's had some weigh in on that. We've not taken things like parking lot extensions, things to the full council. Council's comfortable with this committee making those types of recommendations to staff. It's really a staffing level issue, but we're just looking for a little bit of CYA. So
Okay.
we bring it to the committee, so at least 3 members of the council looked at it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 23-24. And Mike, I believe this is your baby.
Well, are you going to be able to hear me, Chris?
Mhm.
Okay. Bear with me 1 second, y'all. I didn't expect y'all to get here so quickly. Look on the bank recs. Okay.
This is the most fun and efficient committee.
Yes, you can say that. Okay. My part in this is basically starting the accounting of it. So what you basically see, and I'm not going to go through the executive summary. I'll let I'm just tell you what my part is. This is Kevin's run deal, or gig, however you want to look at it. Last year, Councilor Causey, you were wondering about the carryover. Those carryover numbers are traceable to to a spreadsheet that we have now. I'm feeling pretty comfortable with those. The appropriation of the revenues depends on basically what's happening with the fee schedule, and that was approved last night by the Finance and Admin Committee, so we'll be bringing that to council, the rates on Monday.
Okay,
So whatever, if there's no tweaking of that, these numbers are probably gonna be pretty firm, the appropriation revenues. The grant from is that NEBAC?
NABEC, yeah.
Okay, that is gonna be a grant that we're gonna search for, I guess. And one of your questions, Counselor, was, what's the 90-10? That's normal split. I mean, we could probably get 100%. I just put a 90-10 split on it.
So
Just-
90-10, the city pays 10,
Right.
90 is grant.
Right, so that basically that 341,100 is the 90% of the projected cost of the grant or whatever. That's the cost of the project that we have.
Okay.
Um,
And before you go on, Chris, can I just ask what grant sources you're looking at for that?
There's some FEMA grants, there's some water infrastructure grants through Business Oregon. Kevin's looked at one, I know that was specific to like targeting earthquake resiliency type stuff. I'm not sure who that one was through. But there's a couple of them out there that we've looked at in the past. We've just never gotten to the point to get ready to apply.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Now, the 12 million is the grant that we're getting from Business Oregon. So we didn't have it last year, so we're gonna have it this year. It looks like we're gonna spend it well, we're probably gonna spend some of it this current year that we're in because we started the reservoir and we've also bought the pipe. So that'll be a cost that'll start showing up. That's kind of what's in the total expenses today. This is a new form, everybody. I've inserted some new stuff that we can start tracking internally in my office. I've got a staff member that's tracking these projects. So that's just kind of the start of it. So bear with us. What I'm thinking about doing is when I give the council and the budget committee the financials for the quarter, I'm thinking about updating this CIP so you can at least see that middle column. You can see what we're doing. I wish we could get the project accounting system. That's too far down the road to help us right now, but that's a good system to have. So anyway, in the
Before
interest.
you go on, just to interject, I like this very much. It's very helpful having the current year project costs and expenses to date.
Yeah, and in some of your notes, I haven't fixed I missed those on one of it, so I need to go fix that. So that's answering one of your questions. Now, the projects, I mean, these are just the numbers that I have from last year. I just rolled them forward. The water treatment plant, I mean, this is basically what we had last year. I've just kind of rolled everything together now. Because it's going to be going starting now and it's going to go through next year. I'm going to let Kevin talk to 11th Street and anything, the remote reading, I understand that one. That one that's going to be a good project. Once we get it, Kevin's answer was perfect because when we get that system, it's going to take a load off of Public Works and we'll be able to do it internally in the finance office. Julie's very good with the computer with this system. She will enjoy this. It'll save her, the grief. She'll find a leak 38 days later, and by that time it could be a big leak. If it is a big leak, it's expensive, and they got to pay some of it, but we end up eating some of it. But she's all gung ho for us. When I explained to her what this program will do, because I came from Newport, we were just implementing it, and it's a very good system. They have probably about a 2-step above us, but this is the new system. This system is very, very similar. I'm looking forward to it. So
good.
That's the one thing we got there. Now, you had a question on what happened to the bond payments. Remember now, this thing started out when we thought we were going to go get a bond.
Before you go on to that, a couple of things. Kevin, it sounds like you have no shortage of work for whatever time may be freed up by that system.
No, that is true. We could almost use another half a person to another person.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, today we had, what, Gary, what was it? 93 locates come in. Just
Over the
today.
last, since yesterday and today, totally right up there.
One other thing I'd like to add to Mike's explanation there on the remote reads, which was spot on, is they also have a meter that is available that has a shutoff in it. So people that park that we tend to have to shut off, almost every month. And then they park their cars on top of the meter so we can't get to them and other things like that. We can put these meters in and Julie can shut them off right at her desk.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
go
Oh, I like that.
So,
ahead.
just to make sure I'm understanding, are we actually replacing meters just because the description just says installing antennas in strategic locations to receive the meters? So does this 250,000 also include putting in new meters?
I'm gonna let Kevin
Sure.
answer that one.
Gary opened up here. He's been dealing with the meter people a little bit more than I have.
To answer your question, approximately 2009, 2010, we started a meter replacement program.
Okay.
In moving forward, that we had planned on going full radio read in the future. So we are, when we met with the sales guys, they're like, you guys are already 90%. You just need the antenna to top everything off. So we're ready to go. We just need the antenna.
Cool.
Awesome. So the houses already are set. We just can't read them from Public Works yet.
Yeah, right now we have an automatic handheld that we can drive by them and read them, but
Okay.
that still takes approximately 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
When we first started, it was about a 5 hour, but our growth is exponential in the last year or 2 or 3, and so it's a full day now of one guy. And there are some bugs. Sometimes when people pull their lid off their meter box, the thing comes disconnected. So we got to go back and physically make it and reread it. So there are some bugs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
One last question for you, Mike. The 12 million, is that actually in the bank now?
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah, as far as I know. Chris, they sold the bonds, right?
Mhm.
As far as I know, I mean, everybody's starting to draw on it. I mean, Newport's drawing on theirs.
Okay.
So, and looking at the SDC improvements, those numbers are spot on. We have those numbers, the carry forward numbers are the numbers that they are now. I'm gonna probably adjust them as we go through the year as things come in. Would you like me to go through them all quickly, or, because I was gonna let Kevin talk about the projects for the ones that I really know about are the water treatment and the streetscape, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is in Kevin's.
I don't need to, Matt or Christopher, do you
Makes sense.
do you have specific questions?
I guess maybe if you could just expand on I'm not familiar with it, what an aquifer storage recovery well is for the 11th.
That's, we have 2 wells, the 9th Street, which is across from the water treatment plant that was abandoned in about 85 when the old plant, the current plant was built. Water quality concerns. It wasn't the best tasting. It was safe, but it wasn't very good. In the new plant, it's going to be pumped to the new plant and treated. So we'll be able to gain that water use. But the 11th Street well is one that we were looking for, where we can be able to keep producing high amounts of water in the wintertime when we don't have the threat of running low, or when the river runs low, we've got water coming out of the banks. We can take that and treat it and pump it down the 11th Street well into the aquifer where it's stored. And then in the summertime, when we need it, we can bring it back up into service.
Cool.
Quite a few cities are doing that now. I know the city of Salem is. Our house kind of sits over the top of part of the water, one of their aquifers that they do that with. So we know it works.
So the 9th Street well we're going to try to use, and the 11th Street well we're trying to use as storage. Is that right?
We do use the well, very seldom. It's more of an emergency backup or more if the plant is down and the intertie goes down, we use the well. So it's not used very often, but it is one of the wells that we're looking to test to see if the aquifer storage will work. If that does, then we have the options of drilling other wells throughout the city that we'd be able to pump to and store in the aquifer.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike, I do have one basic question I should have asked you initially. But can you just describe SDC improvement and SDC reimbursement, where those funds are coming and going?
Oh, boy. I'm going to let Chris explain the improvement versus reimbursement. All I can tell you is this is the money that we're getting from the SDCs that we get from the builders.
Okay.
And how it's split up, I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out, and I think I have it at times, and then I don't. Because it's got so many intricacies to it.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was a hard question. Go for it, Chris.
It's not. Chris has got the answer for
We
that.
talked about this at like retreat or something. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really about where the funding's coming from. So the improvement is coming from projects that are yet to be built. And so we're looking at future projects within our TSP, the Transportation System Plan. There's a total dollar amount of those projects. And then we figure there's a calculations done to determine what that total cost is per each additional residence or business that comes into the city to help pay for those future improvements. The reimbursement portion is taking an accounting of all of the current roads and the entire road system and looking at what the cost and the value of that was that current residents and businesses have already paid for that infrastructure. And so there's a reimbursement that a new business or a new homeowner that's putting a home in town or business in town is going to reimburse for that infrastructure that's already been put in place. So they're calculated separately, they're pulled together, they're paid as one, and then the state mandates how those funds can be used. They have to be used on then street projects, and they have to be street projects that are listed in our SDC methodology, which clearly spells out, the types of projects and specific things that the money can be used for, which is typically expansion, improvement of the current, in this case, water system or street system or whatever it might be.
So if I were to paraphrase, the SDC improvements are monies that are anticipated to come in from projects that are planned.
Let me do reimbursement first.
I understand your position completely.
Let me talk water specifically, because I think I went transportation in my mind for whatever reason. So if we're talking about water, reimbursement would pay for, as an example, it's the duty that a new property owner that's wanting to build a house, let's say, it's reimbursing the city for all of the money that city residents and businesses have been paid for the existing plant when it was built that was oversized, or the pipes that were oversized or whatever. So somebody, not me, paid for that infrastructure to go into place. So when I connect into that, I need to reimburse the city for that infrastructure that was put there. System as a whole. So think treatment plant, reservoir, main water lines, not my lateral that's coming and servicing my property, right? This is for the larger infrastructure that's already in place. So that's reimbursement. I'm reimbursing for what's already there and established. Right. The improvement portion of the SDC that we collect is for the future capacity that's going to need to be built out at some point because there's now an additional house that's connected to the system. And so that gets calculated. That's based on all of those future projects that have to be done at some point. Well, who's going to pay for them? Well, some of it's going to be paid for by ratepayers, but some of it needs to be paid for the new development that comes in. So development's paying for those future improvements that are going to be required now that they've come into the system.
Okay. Good.
The trick with SDCs is you've got to think big infrastructure. Where you get confused is, I think where it's confused if you start looking at the infrastructure like that's going down your road to service your property, right? Because a developer is required to install that. That's not an SDC fee. That's just infrastructure that's put in to service your property. The SDCs you're paying for is, again, treatment plant, reservoir, bigger infrastructure pieces that were built either before you or going to be built after you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Other questions on the water page? Or comments? Okay. Get everything on the notes was addressed. And the next page is sewer.
I want to make one quick comment on water now that we turn the page. And the aquifer storage recovery, as we get land use applications, it's not uncommon for people to raise concerns about water and our availability of water. And even when we talk about doubling the capacity of our treatment of the water, there's always concerns about the source. And you can chase that all the way up, right? And so I've often referenced, other efforts that the city is taking in order to increase the source or the availability of the source. Aquifer storage recovery is one of those things that are identified in our water master plan that we should be pursuing in order to make sure that we've got a greater source of water. And so it's still Mary's River water, but it's winter water that we have an abundance of, sometimes too much of, right? And so it's utilizing that winter water to treat it, pump it to the aquifer so that in the summer months, when the river does get lower, we've got that additional supply, which Kevin explained really, really well. But again, I think it just goes to there are things that the city can do to increase the amount of water we have access to in the summer months that doesn't include having to tap into the Willamette River through Corvallis or dig new wells or any of those things. There's other things we can do like aquifer storage recovery. It's not a shoe-in. There's a lot of science behind it. The aquifer has to be just right. As you can imagine, sometimes you'll pump water to aquifer and it will just dissipate and you'll never get it back. Other times you'll pump it down and what comes back up is so nasty and horrible that you got to treat it a second time, and then there's some cost benefit there. But we are going to pursue the aquifer storage recovery to see if it is a solution that we can do. So come summer months, we can leave as much water in the river as possible because that's what's good for the environment, it's good for the river. So I just want to acknowledge Kevin, Gary working hard to pull in those strategies from the water master plan that are going to help us provide water to current residents and future development as well.
Thank you. Does perfecting the city's water rights, does that increase our water sources, or does that just extend the sources that we have?
Yeah, it secures the water sources that we have. When those water rights aren't perfected, at some point they could be lost or taken away. So perfecting them essentially ensures that water source indefinitely going forward.
Okay, let's move on to sewer. Okay. Let's see, Mike, do you have specific comments here? I had some questions about the bond.
Yeah, my main comments will be basically around the revenues, because I know the carry forward is, like I said, all these carry forwards are now tied to spreadsheets external to this system, where we keep them up to date month by month. Appropriation of revenues, again, that's predicated based on the fee schedule. SDC schedule projections, I got those from Chris and Ruth today, and so those numbers will probably be right on. I don't think they have any financing from Biz Oregon on there. I think that's interest. Yeah, that's too small to be anything. That's 17,000. Scratch that. That's probably interest. I don't know how that happened. but we're actually getting interest for a change.
Woo.
I think
Is
maybe-
that interest on the 12 million or?
No, only on what we have in-house. So the 12 million is a reimbursable. So we have to get going on getting reimbursed because we've already paid for the pipe. And I know we're going to start getting bills for the water reservoir. They've been out there for a month. So
It's the 1.7 million that we've got in reserve.
yeah, that 1.7 plus,
Plus some SDC, so it's.
right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, everything is out and generated, actually looking at, we might be able to get an extra cop because of the interest, but don't do that.
So the line item for WTP financing biz organ is actually interest.
Yes, that's
Okay.
interest. That's why I don't know what happened there. I probably did a control copy and control paste.
Yeah, it's on the storm drain page too, so it just
Yeah.
got.
Yeah. Okay.
Something got
pasted
buried.
over.
In any of the projects that got questions on them, I'll let you talk to Kevin about that. But I will talk to you about the bond payment, your question, Councilor Causey. When we did the refinance of the 2016 bond back in the 2016, we pledged the sewer revenues and the sewer SDCs as payments. And we also pledged the property tax increment for the urban renewable side of it. So that's what these numbers are. And Joan was keeping it pretty flat, and I don't know why, but the principal always goes up. And so this part has been covering principal. The interest has been paid by the rates. That's what, they didn't say that's explicitly in the official statement, but that's how I've done those in the past. We just barely cover the principal and let the rates pay the rest. And so that's what these are.
Okay.
I just had a question on the 16th Street sewer line. It says the project cost is 375,000, but then it says we're spending 750,000 on it.
Good catch. I have to look at my notes on that one. I don't, because that's the 22-23.
Right.
And what I did is I brought anything over from the 23-24, and if there's a balance left over, I added them together for the 22-23. That's could be valid. I wish I should have kept that open. Let me look at that, and
Okay.
if there's notes on that, I don't know. They're not, that particular column, Council McMorrin, Chris, how do you say your last name?
McMorrin.
McMorrin, I did the same thing to Matt. But anyway, those numbers are just, they're supposed to be total cost of the 22-23 less expenditures, and that new number should be the difference. There's no cost involved in our expenses to date. However, it went up 375. So there must be some math I did to it in order for that to happen. So let's go ahead and go on. I'm going to pull it back
Okay.
up and see what I did.
Okay.
Mike, was that due to the South 16th sewer line was part of the 16th Street and full improvement, and we kind of pulled it out and put it with 17th and 18th?
It could be. It could be. I'm going to pull it up and see what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, the 17th and 18th is the same number as last year.
Yeah.
So it's reduced by the 375.
I'll have to look and see what I got.
Okay. Well, while Mike is checking on that, are there any other questions on sewer?
I'm just not familiar with the term sewer force main.
We have, let's see, most all of our sewer lines are gravity, which means when, everything flows downhill. When they get to our sewer pump stations, there's a pressurized sewer main that comes out of those and travels to the lagoons. So with, having to go under the river and moving the sewage more rapidly. Everything's pumped through that main. So it's under pressure when the pumps are on, where gravity is always gravity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly, for the 16th Street sewer line, that's exactly what I did. Last year, or the current year, 22-23 is 375. For the 23-24, we had a projected additional cost of 275. So I just added those two together. It does look a little bizarre. I will fix that over at I'll do the same thing over on the 22-23, but
Okay,
maybe not. I may just put a note down below saying I combined, the 675 is the combined total of that project.
675 or
650.
Oh, I'm sorry.
650.
I'm looking at my distance, sorry. 650.
Wait, okay. So why is it like twice as expensive?
Okay, last year it was 375,000.
See it here. This is last year's.
Okay,
And so what I did is I combined them.
This is what he moved into this. So this is 22, 23, 24. So he pulled this over.
but that still doesn't equal 650. What?
375 plus 275 is the 650. And that's the project cost for next year.
Okay, but this says project cost 375, so we paid 275.
We had
And
275 projected for next year, which brings it, it makes it that amount.
Am I just missing something?
Um,
I guess, because what it looks like on there is it cost 375, and we paid for it with 275 out of reserve and 100 out of SDC improvement, which equals 375, which is what the project cost is. I'm just confused how that gets, like, why are we
Let me look.
spending twice as much money on this as we estimated?
It looks like it's a timing issue.
Oh, I see what you're saying. As far as, yeah, that should be 375. That's a good one. Yeah, don't know what I was thinking. No, that should be 375. That's
Okay,
In the reserve column.
yeah, the reserve, that should be 275, the 100, yeah, that's,
okay.
no, you're not missing, I missed something.
So 23, 24 projected for 16th Street sewer line reserve should be 275.
Correct.
And then we're keeping the 100
Yeah.
in
We're gonna
SDO.
keep that.
Okay. So I'm assuming that would mean that the total expenditure would go down by quite a bit too.
Yeah, you're talking about, yes, oh yeah,
Okay,
they'll go down by the 375.
okay.
Sorry about that, good catch.
Cool.
Thank you. You may be excused from the quiz.
Wow, very good.
Okay, any other questions on sewer? Okay, storm drain.
Storm drain. I did had some questions on that. Well, not questions. The revenue is like I've been saying all along. These are all tied to spreadsheets. The revenues. I've included the URA for the storm drain because they've got some. They're paying for the bioswale. I got the interest again. How did I do that?
It's the beauty of linking all your sheets
I
together.
think it's linked.
Saves a lot of time.
Oh, Counselor Crosby. Counselor Lee
Yeah,
has a question.
Councilor
Oh.
Lee.
Counselor Lehman.
Yeah, it looks like that we missed a zero in the other column.
Or which
So we
column?
have 58,000 in the 16th Street
Yeah,
project storm drain. We have a cost of 58,000, but then just taken 5,800 out of reserve. So it looks like just a zero was missed there.
See it?
No, no.
In your reserve column under 2324
Okay.
for the 16th Street project storm drain, you've got 5,800 instead of
Storm drain.
58,000.
I mean, look, I'm happy to only pay 5,800.
No, that is fixed.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess just sort of a general question for either Mike or Chris, but for the bioswale, is that something we are paying for directly, or is that something that's partially funded by ODOT?
That's kind of my question. Is that part of their bid, Chris, or is that part of ours?
It's our portion of that project.
Okay.
So we need to pay them another 300,000?
Yep, coming out of our,
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Because the money's sitting there.
except I think it's coming out of our STCs though.
No, that was coming out of the URA. That's where we got that one budgeted. If it's SDC, that's a good
I
thing.
think it's STC eligible because it's an expansion.
Okay,
So I think the intent was to have that come out of storm STC.
okay. I can fix that, I'll move that over. And I will fix the URA budget.
Kevin, I think I had asked you about the Landmark Drive LID footnote. I assume the storm drain work there is complete.
Yes,
Okay.
it's pretty much all complete. I believe they've gotten the ADA ramp repaired that didn't pass the first inspection. We're just waiting on ODOT to have their inspector go out and inspect the repaired ramp, and then hopefully we can close that out.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Wait, are we on straight now? What's that?
I think I'm
One more, I have to fix the stormwater master plan.
Okay.
That's not working right. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
fixing the formula. Because we spent 17,005, so that should be 32,500 right now.
Yeah.
And so I fixed that.
okay.
Isn't that the beauty of spreadsheets? I can fix it while they're there.
And so is that just like consulting, or what is that 50,000 going towards?
Kevin?
Kevin, did you hear the question?
Oh, no, sorry, I was straightening out my budget here.
Oh, you're good. For the stormwater master plan, $50,000, is that going to consulting, or what is that actually paying for?
Consulting.
Okay. Okay. As an aside, Chris, would we be able to at some point get an idea of how much money the city council spends on consultants every year? Not right now necessarily, but just, okay.
It's not a lot. So in consulting, I mean, we hire our engineering firm of record,
Right.
West Tech,
Okay.
to do that work for us, which they've done our master plans for water and sewer, storm. We didn't have them do the TSP. We had a different company do that. But our engineer of record, which is pretty common for the city engineer of record to do those master plan updates. And we pay that outside of our, it's outside our normal month-to-month work that they do for us on a review of plans and whatnot. So we don't update them often. It's why we only update plans as needed, typically 5 to 10 years. because it is fairly expensive to do, and it's a pretty good view. I think our current plan, Kevin, do you remember the current date on their storm master plan?
I want to say it was 2005.
Aren't most of the consultant for plan updates paid through grants? No?
They're not through grants. We did get a grant for the transportation system plan.
We got one for water and sewer, I think, too.
We got partial for water and sewer, I think like $30,000 worth.
And you got one for the comprehensive plan, right?
Yes, we got grant for comprehensive plan. So we did a good portion of that. For stormwater, just wasn't money out there for the grants. Initially, we thought this was going to be a little bit less expensive, easier update, and the more they got digging into it, new requirements from the state, it ended up being a lot more work and a lot more updating. Stormwater 2005 in the state of Oregon looked a lot different than what it does now. So it's meant a pretty substantial upgrade and update rather than just reviewing the numbers and upgrading the figures and the project costs. So that's led to a little bit more expense there than what we were anticipating.
Okay.
But we don't do it very often as needed, and we do try to get grants wherever we can. And we do pay for it with our system development charges as opposed to our reserves as well. So it's paid for by that new development that's coming in. That's the funds that we use to update those plans. Because it's the growth's fault that we're having to update them, so we have the growth pay for them, right? So
Sure.
That's kind of how that works.
I guess I'm also, and this, I don't mean to get us off track because it's not Untitled Public Works, but just also, we heard from a consultant at our last city council meeting, which was not paid for through SDCs, but
Remind me.
for compensation,
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
which
Yeah.
I just, Anyway, we can move on.
It's a sensitive subject
Yeah.
for you, I understand. Okay, and justifiably so. Why don't we move on to streets? Are there any questions on the street page?
I have one comment if there's not any initial questions. I'd like to recommend that we add a project. Just on Monday morning, I received the final report from the consultants that were doing the traffic safety, school traffic circulation. It's the school safety and circulation study that was performed. This is also funds that were allocated to us from Campo, so it didn't come in from our funds. But the study was completed, as you'll recall, late last year. The report's been finalized. There's several recommendations in there. One of those recommendations is looking at 16th Street and continuing that, which is on here. Another included the crossing at Main and 17th Street, which made it on here. But one of the other top projects there is looking at the installation of a roundabout at 19th and Applegate.
Yes.
That project is not on here, so my recommendation would be that we put some money in the capital improvement plan, at least for some planning and preliminary engineering.
So some consultants. Sorry.
So we can hire somebody other than Kevin to go out there and do a transportation study and some engineering. We're busy. We know that we're busy, but again, this is a project. All of these projects have got some momentum behind them, so I hate to kick it out too far. Looking at our balances, that project would be STC eligible. So we've got nice ending fund balances there as early as not this fiscal year, but next fiscal year. So I guess my proposal, and I'm open to suggestions, would be to provide for, we'll call it the Applegate 19th Street intersection improvements for planning and engineering in the fiscal year 24-25 of $200,000.
How much was that, 200?
200,000.
Do you need a vote on that?
No, it's just an edit if everybody's in agreement.
I am certainly in agreement.
And so that 200 is to get the plan, not to actually do
Planning and some preliminary engineering. It probably won't get us to final design,
Right, okay.
but there's a lot of outreach that'll need to be done at the county with ODOT because we're within a block of the highway. So
Right.
that's the planning aspect of it. And then some preliminary engineering to see what it would look like, how it would function, maybe some modeling.
Okay.
We've
And-
talked about Campo supported the idea of doing a try it week, put some tires and some cones and some people out there and some flaggers and see how it works and see how it functions. Get ODOT out there and the county out there and let's look
That
and see how
sounds
that
horribly
functions.
confusing.
I can already see the lovely emails from our loving constituents.
Yeah. Better tires than concrete when you're trying something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into that because I feel like, as we talked about in one of our council meetings, like if we are going to increase density on 19th Street, I think we do have an obligation to ensure that we are also responding to the concerns. And I think this is potentially a way to do that. I guess Chris and we'll talk about it. Was there any other big recommendations for 19th Street that came up that we might want to include?
One was signage about
Okay.
truck traffic, so that was in there, but again, that's going to be a fairly low dollar number.
Sure, okay.
There are some recommendations for improvements along the pickup and drop-off area at the Clemens Primary School. Again, fairly small dollar amounts. And I'm trying to, they didn't necessarily rank the projects, but they definitely were much more in depth than some of the bigger projects and some of the
Okay.
smaller ones. So I don't want to have a $200,000 plus project just hop on the CIP from one year to the next. So I'm just thinking, at least right now, I'm envisioning that that's going to be a pretty high priority project for the council to start talking about this year, next year. It'd be good to get some money put aside here now and start making sure that we're accounting for it. Not to say there may not be, some improvements on 19th Street in front of the primary school that may cost $100,000 that might become a priority this time next year. But for now, I at least foresee some planning and preliminary stuff that we may need to do as early as next fiscal year.
Cool.
And I only say next fiscal year just because we're busy this year. It's just not an extra project we can take on right now. We're looking at 16th Street improvements. So, we got to take everything in stride. But the next fiscal year, 24-25, I think it'd be appropriate to have some money there.
2 comments on I believe on the 16th of this month, there is a program. I'm not sure if ODOT's putting it on or who it is. It was in my email, probably from the League of Oregon Cities, on roundabouts. So I'm going to be tuning in. I can hardly wait. And the other thing I would like to mention is, since at this point in time, we do have a lot of, actually, I find these things fascinating. I'm not being completely sarcastic.
No,
it's really
listen.
interesting. But because at this point in time, we do have a lot of money available through the bipartisan infrastructure bill, I would like to see if we can package the roundabout, the 16th Street stuff, and whatever other improvements are in that study, and see if we can get those things funded and moving. So that's one of my goals.
Yeah, and if we're looking at planning engineering for 24-25, then when we get into the legislative session, then we'll be in a good spot where we've got some planning, some preliminary engineering, and we've got that package together, and we can add in 17th Street, some of these other smaller projects and bundle those. So
Right.
puts us on the right track for those projects.
Okay.
I just had a quick sort of clerical question for street, for the Main Street crossing at 17th. That 128,000 in SDC improvement, it's not parentheses or red, is that an expenditure or is that a revenue?
No, that's a boo-boo.
Okay,
It's an expenditure.
It's an
okay.
expenditure.
And then just, can we also include that then in project cost? Because right now that and the Applegate Street Bike Lane don't have a project cost.
Yeah, because they're further out into the future, 22, 23.
Oh, that's the
right
22,
now. Yeah.
okay.
No, I follow your thinking.
Oh, I see,
Okay.
25.
Yeah, those are way out in the future.
26.
When they,
Oh,
when they
okay,
hit the year, and then I'll pull them in.
okay. And then I guess, can we also just make sure that 26,500 and 25, 26 SDC improvement is listed as an expenditure?
Isn't
Sure.
the Applegate, is that north of the couplet? Or, I'm sorry, east of the couplet?
17th, it is.
No, the Applegate Street Bike Lane.
Applegate Street Bike Lane is, yeah, that's really looking at from like 15th Street down to 19th.
Okay, okay.
Cool.
I was just wondering why it wasn't done as part of street. Yeah.
Further to the east.
That would make sense.
Just east, it's the portion of it that leads right up to that new
Yeah,
two-way bike track, so, yeah.
Okay. Other questions on the street? Let's move on to park. Any questions on parks?
okay, I don't mean to be that guy, but, so why are we listing $20,000 project cost for pedestrian scale lighting, even though that's not until 25, 26? If we aren't listing the other ones as project costs, because they don't happen for a few years.
Mine already says that. I caught it when I flipped the page. Whoops.
Okay,
So I fixed that already.
okay,
Should probably fix the construction of this roller skate park, the 300,000, because it's out there too.
I mean, I will say it is kind of helpful just to know what the total cost is
Yeah.
somewhere. Just like when we see what we're spending each year, we know how much of the percentage of the project that is.
What I could probably do we could probably add another column, just say project cost
Okay,
when they cross over years. And I'll just have a current one with, I'll rearrange it a little bit.
Okay.
We're getting fancy as we go.
sure,
So, yeah, I'll set up a new one where I'll have a column probably before the current year and the current expenditures. I'll probably put it on the other side. That could be a little confusing. Or, what I could do is put it down in the description, put down the total balance down there for the project down there. And then I'll go back and pull the stuff out of the current year, only
Okay.
the current project cost.
and then for Cochrane Veterans Memorial.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that another typo there where it says we're paying twice the amount?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's gotta be. Yeah, that 248.
and that is coming out of SDC funds, right? Or is that,
Yeah,
so it should be that
It's a new part.
232 out of
the
SDC?
232 should not be there.
Well, but shouldn't it be, because we already spent 15,000,
Oh, right.
so,
Okay, no, you're right. That's, the
But it
240
should be just in the SDC improvement one.
yeah, so it
right.
should be 232 out of
Yep,
SDC.
that's where it
Okay.
should be over in the SDC. The
Okay.
248 there, I'm gonna fix that.
And then I'm assuming again, just the water treatment plant financing biz Oregon is actually interest on this.
Yes,
Okay.
it's linked.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I will fix those.
Okay,
That's not a real simple fix.
Hold on just a second, though. In the revenues, we have a Cochrane Park grant for 50,000. So shouldn't that show up in the reserve column as a payout of 50,000 and then reduce the SDC improvement by the corresponding value.
How's that one? Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
And
so
then,
That should be over. That should not be in reserve. It should be over.
you can put it in reserve and then just have 50,000
Yeah,
come
I'll
out
leave 50,000
of reserve
over.
and reduce the SDC amount by 50,000.
Yeah.
and then I'm assuming there shouldn't be anything in grant revenue, Cochrane Park SDC improvement for 24, 25. Because there's a $80,000.
Okay. No, that's a good catch. Do we think this thing will be done next year?
Well, but I mean that wouldn't go in grant.
No,
Funds,
no,
right.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
And the same would go for the skate park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we are anticipating 25,000 grant revenue for the skate park this year and 300 next year.
That's the placeholders I told me to put in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just not the 80,000 SDCs for
Right.
those. Okay.
Okay, shall we move on to bike path, footpath? Are there any-
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Just the one last question for pedestrian scale lighting at City Park. Is this like the lighting we have on like the Hunsaker bike path, or was this the whole discussion of moving street lights from Main Street over there?
The latter.
Okay.
I suggested that be added as a footnote.
Look at you. That's why you're the chair.
Okay. Okay, any questions on bike footpath?
Do we have like, do we have any more of a plan for this? This feels a little simple. Like, do we have any other pedestrian path plans?
Are there additional crosswalks suggested as a result of the school traffic safety study?
17th Street. I think there was some discussion about, again, that pickup area for the primary school, which has a crosswalk there. I don't remember from 3 weeks ago when I read through the draft, or a month ago when I read through the draft, if it had specific crosswalk there. Other than 17th Street.
Okay.
I don't see it there. So this one came to mind just because it's been out there for a while. It takes a beating being out on the highway. So just more reflective tape, replacing the deals. It's kind of a maintenance item, but it's also would be maybe doing it better than how it was done originally with some additional, I'm sure, if we were to give Gary a little bit more of a budget, he could really make that thing shine in the dark and make it more visible for folks, which is going to benefit everybody. I mean, it makes it more safe. And I'm not just talking the island, I'm thinking on the sides as well. The flashing lights are great when they're on, but even when they're not on, just some additional awareness that crosswalk's there, especially when it's dark. So that's why I targeted that project specifically, that area specifically, but we could just as easily hang on to that money and look at putting it towards like 17th Street improvements as an example. But we've got that project in streets.
The reason I bring it up is that I often see people jaywalk at 7th and Main, which is probably outside of the scope of the Safe Routes to School. Oh, was that you?
I do that routinely. Yes. Sorry.
Sorry, Ken's not here.
Anyway, it seems to me it might be a good thing to have at least to have crosswalk markings there.
Hmm.
And I noticed the crosswalk markings near the current site of Philomath Family Medicine are pretty undiscernible, but I'm sure that will change with streetscapes.
Right.
I had a thought and now I forgot what it was. I guess can we just make sure that the project cost is is that 2,000 the only cost for that
That's the
project?
only cost you're gonna have
Okay.
on, that they gave me.
Okay,
I'll move that over.
thank you.
This, in my experience, this budget kind of tends to, because it's not a lot of money,
Right,
it tends to accrue funds until we have
We have
enough to
some.
do
Okay.
something
Yeah.
material.
okay,
And it's pretty limited on what you can use it
Yes.
on as
Yeah.
well. It's supposed to be adjacent to the highway.
right. And I guess, just so I understand, so how does this work with ODOT versus us? Because I thought we weren't allowed to make improvements to Highway 20, but we can do these things,
For the
or?
most part, yeah, we accepted ownership and maintenance of the crosswalk out at Boulevard Apartments when
Okay.
that got in.
Okay,
So it's typically, Kevin, the term we use is typically the city does, the ODOT does curb to curb, kind of inside, and we
Right.
would do outside curb.
right,
But then they make all these exceptions where
Okay.
the city will also do this. And,
okay,
yeah, you can have painted bike lanes, but you'll maintain them. And yeah, you can have a two-way bike track, but you'll have to maintain it. And
okay,
yeah, so ODOT wants to maintain ODOT Highway as they vision highway, which
Right.
is
and if
freight,
you want to add
right?
bells and whistles.
You
it's
pay
your-
for them
okay,
and
okay.
you maintain them and you replace them, et cetera. Yes.
Okay.
You get
Which-
the picture.
Which
Okay.
makes sense to a certain extent when you're talking
Right,
about
sure,
ODOT dollars and where we want ODOT to focus their dollars.
right,
I think it makes sense for the community to chip in on some of those things.
okay. Cool, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the facility improvement schedule. Are there any questions about these last pages?
I guess I just wanted sort of a overview from Chris on the city hall upgrade, remodel, and council chamber upgrade.
Me too. I'm told our parts are going to be in middle of this month, which is next week. We're hesitant to schedule something until I know the parts are in.
Okay,
But once parts are in, we'll get scheduled with them to finish getting the microphone, speakers,
okay,
wiring completed for in here. We are looking, I've had a request from staff to order 2 more tables
okay,
because this works, but it'd be nice to have an extra table for staff and something. So we're going to order 2 more tables, get those coming. And then this aspect of it will be done. So we're maybe, I don't know what their schedule's like. I mean, I may call them once the part comes in, they may be another month out still. So I'm
Okay.
not sure, but within the next couple of months.
and what are we doing for the microphone and speaker stuff?
It'll be a one ceiling mounted microphone that will pick up this entire area, so we won't have the
Okay,
localized microphones. They're going to add some speakers in the back as
Okay.
well, so they'll be able to project sound. And then they're going to hardwire all the TVs into the one new computer that we have behind this TV.
okay,
Those will all be hardwired to each other, so when we go to start a meeting, we'll just open up the Zoom and all the TVs will come on at the same time, and you won't have to stand up and sit down to turn off alarms and all that stuff. So it'll be improved microphone. We're just starting to look at the potential of looking at a different camera system. This one does what we wanted it to do, but it's not as nice as some of the newer conference cameras, which will be closer, the
Right,
owls
right.
and whatnot that are made for that. They struggled a little bit when those products first came out. They've made a lot of improvements, obviously, over the last couple of years. The county has invested in that software. or hardware. And so we're going to go and take a look at those, see how they function in a larger room. You can pair them together now, which has some added benefit as well. So we may end up looking at a different camera system going
Okay.
forward, but we haven't looked at pricing or anything on that yet. We're just looking functionality. Our camera does okay, but it definitely could be improved upon, I think, for what the expectations of the residents has become
Mhm.
as technology has advanced. So
I guess I just want to make sure, because I know we got some complaints about residents not being able to hear us,
yeah.
like in the room.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure we're addressing that.
Yeah, the new speakers attached to the microphone will solve that, resolve that.
Okay.
We'll have a couple kind of middle of the room and then a couple in the back of the room
Okay.
to amplify sound.
Okay.
We're not going back to a dais arrangement, are we?
No, the arrangement will be this. It'll just be a better speaker system with the amplified sound over the speakers.
Okay.
And then what is the city hall upgrade remodel?
That's going to be looking at the other side at our office space, the entry, the lobby area. We're hurting for space right now. We were looking at considering maybe bringing on a rare intern to do some work for us. I don't have a space to put a rare intern. So that was a major limitation in doing that. But some of it's functionality, some of it's needing more space, and just looking at a revamp of the City Hall office space primarily. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. We have some ideas. We've talked to staff. But yeah, it's a future project we haven't had time to really bite into yet.
Okay. Just because it's listed for this upcoming fiscal year, do you still think that's the case, or?
It's a priority.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, it'll be bringing somebody in other than me with a ruler and a floor plan to
I'm not a consultant,
make some
but,
revisions.
sorry.
I did not say consultant, no. We actually did have a consultant come in free of charge
Hey.
and give us some ideas, and didn't feel like it was exactly what we were looking for. That's not true. Didn't feel like it was anything close to what we were looking for. We brought in a couple contractors that would actually do that kind of work, and we've not had real good success with them either. So we're kind of looking for the right person to come in that works in office spaces, looks at creating better working environments, creating more desk space, more cubicles, not necessarily cubicles, but more work areas, and just trying to make better use of our space. I just haven't found the right person to do that. So if anybody knows anybody, or if you're out there, contact me.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have one for Gary. Gary, you still awake? You replaced the HVAC for the library. So is that 31,000 or 31,900 available for something else?
You should be seeing a final bill. Electrical got done today. We're waiting for inspections, so I imagine you'll see a final bill in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
So electrician came in, did the last, and I called for inspection today. So
Well, so council knows that, and the committee knows that that line item is going to go away probably for the end of the year. And I probably should adjust it. So, but do we want to put anything aside for future in case these HVACs really go down? Or Gary, how should we put more money aside? Keep putting money aside?
always for HVAC, it seems like they are a bugaboo in all our buildings. We've replaced, I don't know, Kevin, you think we replaced almost all of them now so far?
Pretty close.
I can't think of any building. Maybe the water plant is the only one we haven't changed the heater out, and it doesn't have an air conditioner. So other than that,
Okay,
every building's got a new one in the last 10 years. So
not going to take it out. Okay.
I guess just one question for the library new edition conceptual design. It
Yes.
says that design in 22, 23. Are we doing that?
I thought we'd get more traction this year than what we have. There was some excitement that there might be a fairly large funding source to do that, and we've just had a hard time confirming and moving forward with that. So it's still one of the items on the top of my list to try to move forward on a little bit, but again, it's not something I have a lot of expertise in, so we'll need to hire a consultant to help us with that.
Love to hear it.
We're working very closely with the library district on that, and they've
Yeah.
got some resources. They're aware of other libraries that have been expanded recently, and so they've got some ideas of people that can help with that. I think it's just coordinating those efforts. And then again, this additional funding source, which would have been very, very beneficial. And I think that's just slowed the efforts a little bit,
Okay.
but it's still a priority.
So we might carry that over though to 23, 24.
It will likely carry over,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have it earmarked.
Okay. And I guess just is 30,000, like if we get 30,000 from a private source, do we spend this 30,000 on something else, or do we now spend 50,000 on this? Like, what are
The intent would be that this money would then go towards more
The
like into
actual-
the design phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
and if we don't get that private money, then this would still just go to the concept.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to vehicle and rolling equipment. Are there any questions here?
Now, again, the totals for each one of these categories is tied back to another number now, to a real number. So those are real numbers.
I always thought they were.
Pardon?
No, this
Yeah.
time they really are.
This time they really are real. Last year I wasn't sure what they were. Now we have pretty much cornered it.
What are these little numbers on the side where it's like 43 2009 GMC?
That's the equipment number.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, they always make sure they give me our numbers so I can put in there, what are you replacing, so I can go look at it,
Okay,
see
cool.
what the balance is.
Have you gotten the replacement truck yet? The GMC?
That's Gary's question.
The GMC has been replaced. It was replaced with the Ford Ranger. We kept the vehicle around because we needed an extra vehicle. But if it breaks down, we won't be putting any money into it. It's just basically a summer hire type truck, somebody to get around. I will let you know that vehicle number 46, the 2-yard dump truck. I've ordered it, and I got told we might get it, we might not. So Ford is not honoring orders.
Oh my God.
You just go into a pool, and if it shows up one day, it shows up. So
Wow.
So I guess should we take off that projected 6/30/23 balance for the 2009 GMC if we already bought it?
Did we pay for that, Gary?
yes, we paid for the Ford Ranger. Yep.
Okay,
And that's
Yeah, I would take that 43 off of there on this one.
and this is
Okay.
43, okay.
It usually gets changed to another number for the replacement, though, for future replacement.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah, we'll do fruit, what's the future, what's the new number?
53.
Okay,
so the one that's already on there.
yeah, the one's already there,
Okay.
and we're on the side, so, yeah,
So-
that one, I'm gonna take the top one off.
So it's like baseball, you retire their number?
It helps us with our data management, our work orders. When the guys do work, they have to put in a number for a vehicle. And if we kept using the same number, it would be
That'd be
Really?
tricky. Yeah.
Really confusing. So we have to sign a new number. I imagine when we get to 99, we'll have to start over. So
Um, okay.
Yeah, I will deal with that on the side. I'm not gonna replace it yet. I just want to keep everything in line.
What is our administration vehicle?
That's the red vehicle Chris drives around, or we drive around if we.
Little Ford Focus.
Okay.
We house it over at the police station. Admin staff uses it for going to meetings, conferences. The
Okay.
police department uses it for undercover.
Okay.
For any time they're going to like the ABC house or something where they don't want to be in a marked vehicle, they've
Okay.
utilized it there. Anybody that's going to the airport or whatever, we
Okay.
use that as an additional city vehicle. So it gets used quite, gets used more, I don't know, it gets used periodically.
Okay.
Did you replace vehicle number 47? Which is on the next page.
That's the police. They replaced 2 vehicles this year, and I have to go in and fix those. I just got the numbers the other day, so I need to go fix those.
The chief, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the chief wanted me to speak in his absence, and being that they're going green, they're decided to go all the bicycles and do away with the vehicles.
Awesome.
So there'll be some cost savings there.
Is that happening when he retires?
Now he's got is it a 10-speed, Gary, or a 12-speed? I forget which one he ended up with.
I think he went with one of those up and coming 21 speeds, the new stuff.
Oh, his is the one with the little bell on the handlebars, though.
Oh boy.
my goodness.
So how do we read this police department one? Because there's like 47 and then vehicle 47 replacement.
Yeah, they've got a new one that they replaced. I forget the new number. Same happened with vehicle 57.
Right, but then when are we replacing 47 and 57?
2 of those, if I'm not mistaken, the Tahoe was replaced.
Okay.
And
But I mean, like when are we replacing the replacement? I get, because like there's no schedule for that.
there's no time frame. I see what you're saying.
Because like we're saving up $11,000 a year, but like.
When are we going to do it?
Right.
I'll have to ask them what they want. What's their time frame?
Well, I think it's still 6 years out.
6 years, yeah. So 6 years.
Okay.
So they don't
Where does this?
they don't retire their numbers.
I don't know that answer.
Christopher, it's the third column that's when the total project years or whatever years to replace.
Okay, thank you. I missed that.
It's on the page before that at the very top.
Yeah. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I know Kevin said was a joke. However, have we put any thought into for vehicles where it's a reasonable alternative trying to buy vehicles that aren't just pure internal combustion engine, like hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles or anything? Like I know some public, like, not going to buy a electric vac truck or something, but like, for a police car or something like that.
Yeah, I've not had specific conversations with Chief Rubin about that. I don't know what he's looked at. And
Okay.
I know that they push those at, the conferences that he attends, the chief's conferences. There's a lot of push and opportunities to look at those. They have them on display. Even when I go to my city managers conferences, they have police vehicles there that they're showing off all the time. So no, there's a lot of options out there, but I haven't had the conversation with him. I kind of leave that to him to pick what vehicles are going to work best for him and not hurt anything.
How about one of those little radio flyer pedal cars?
Kevin's brutal today.
Kevin and I did talk about for Public Works looking at maybe smaller trucks in the future instead of the F-450s. The new Rangers are a half-ton truck. So we are looking at, they are significantly cheaper and easier to get. So probably in our next big truck purchase, we may be looking at a smaller mid-sized truck. We don't buy diesels anymore. The cost of them are way crazy expensive, and we just don't need a need for them. We're not hauling the excavator on a daily basis. So we'll keep one or two bigger trucks and then go with the lighter duty trucks in the future.
Okay, before we get into the last exhibit, I would like to suggest that we meet on Tuesday, April 4th at the same time. I'd like to conclude the discussion about alternative funding sources, LIDs, and the possibility of a gas tax.
Oh, geez. You said Tuesday, April 4th?
Yes, which is the same time next month. And with that, Kevin, did you want to comment on the last exhibit?
Are we sticking with a certain day and time?
If that works for everybody, if there's no, since we have several working people on the committee, I think I'd like to try to accommodate them if possible. I know that means you Zoom in rather than being here, but I'm okay with that.
I can do Friday afternoons. I don't know about Councilor Lehman.
I'm super flexible.
So
I'm fine either way. We had talked about a date and time, and when we had to move this one just to this date and time because of I think because of other scheduling conflicts. So I'm fine with April 4th at 7.
okay.
Would you, if you prefer a daytime meeting, could you do a Friday afternoon?
Yeah, I could probably do Friday afternoon.
I mean, this works. I don't mean to change things up if it's. I'll be quiet.
Well, it's late night or afternoon. I mean, it's like we're pretty efficient.
Right.
So, but we can stick with the 4th at 7, or perhaps do the 7th at 3 or something.
That's up to the committee really on what works best. The earlier on Fridays for us, the better, because Friday afternoons are usually the day everything happens.
Okay.
Oh, they are.
So things break.
Okay.
Everything breaks on Friday.
Everybody remembers to call that leak in that they've seen for the last week on Friday
Yeah.
afternoon.
Okay, let's stick with the 4th then. for
All right.
now.
All right.
I can do Friday afternoons for now, but I have a feeling as work gets busier, that may stop being the case. So I don't want to promise things I can't do.
Can I request a motion to approve the CIP as amended?
Yes, I guess. Sorry,
Moved.
well, yes, since we made so many changes, would it be possible for Mike to send us the?
So it'll come back to the city council. So it comes from here to go to the city council for the approval. The packets are going out tomorrow. So
Okay,
we've got tomorrow morning, we'll make the updates,
Okay.
get in the packet, and it'll be out. So you'll see it when everybody else gets to see it.
All right then.
And if there's further amendments need to be made, we can
Okay.
do it at the council
Yeah.
meeting, but we just got we got a tight.
Yeah. Okay.
turnaround.
No, I
It's a
did think
small
about
one,
that.
though.
Okay, then so moved.
All right.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Matt. All in favor of approving the CIP as amended, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. With that, then, Kevin, this is your last chance to comment on your brain video.
Yeah, if everybody got the email today, you notice what we were talking about on this final picture. It is actually a part of our 1952 sewer system. We had a sinkhole show up on North 9th, and when we ran the TV down it, the picture didn't come out as good as it does on a computer screen, but you can see the whitish yellowy part of the pipe on the right hand side, and everything along the top and down the left hand side's all pipe that's missing. So the ground was able to hold the surface for a little while, and then it finally gave up and started sinking. So that's typical of what we've been finding in the 52 stuff, which is why we're in a mode to really, why Gary and I would really like to see as much of the 52 pipe go away as possible. So that's where we're trying to focus our attention.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. All right, with that, then I will adjourn the meeting for today and see all of you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.